So yes, like I said, we're here for the Baseline Improvements Town Fork Creek project. I'm going to do a few introductions for some of the important people you're going to hear from today, though there's a much larger team on our call. Srini Valapanini with KC Water. He's the KC Water Smart Sewer Officer. Will be giving us an overview of the program. Ben McCabe is the KC Water Project Manager for this Baseline Improvements Town Fork Creek project. And then he's being assisted by Mike Alexander, the Design Professional HD Consult. So they'll kind of run you through the details. And then at the end, we have a few questions just to learn more about the community, about how the community is working with the park. And we'll provide you all with an opportunity to ask questions as well. So I will hand it off to Srini.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Srini Valapanini. I'm the Smart Sewer Officer here at the KC Water. I appreciate your time at the end of the day to come and join and listen to our project information. And I will give you just an overview why this project is, and then we'll have the team will give you more project information. Just a brief introduction to KC Water. As you are aware of, we do serve water, wastewater, stormwater needs for our customers, and very extensive systems built in and to serve you daily, to get you clean water and collect wastewater, and also when it rains, take the stormwater away from your homes to the area waterways. And that's about the three water systems we have. Go to the next slide, please. And focusing on the sewers today, since the project is about the our sewer system in Town Fork Creek area and in your neighborhoods. We do have two types of sewer systems in Kansas City service area. You see the map, you'll see a green outlined area. That is what we refer to combined sewer system. And to the north, you see north of river for mostly separate sewer system. And then also the south, outside the green outlined areas is also a separate sewer system. As you can tell, the cities originally, when it started developing, the water part of the system had built in based on the combined sewer system. As growth happens, two separate type of sewer systems emerged. I can give you a little graphical view how these systems work. But in general, though, if you go back to the previous slide, the magnitude of the sewers we have, as you can see, our combined sewer system is about 58 square miles, the green area. And then our separate sewer system is 260 square miles combined, both north and south. But if you look at the dates, so our combined system goes back to 1857. And the separate systems came much later, 1960s. But one interesting fact, when you look at the miles of pipe combined, both type of sewer systems, we have nearly 2,800 miles of pipe that we operate and maintain and to deliver services. That's 2,800 square miles. So if I can give you a general feel for it, it's how much is the driving distance between New York City and Los Angeles. That is how much of pipe underneath the ground, which you don't see. Next slide, please. So in the combined sewer system, which is what you have in the Town Fork Creek watershed, typically the system actually is as sounds as a combined, which means that it's a system developed to take both wastewater from homes and institutions and schools and businesses, as well as when it rains, it takes the rainwater that runs off and gets into the inlets and then eventually get into the sewer. The both water mixes in a combined sewer system. So when it is dry, like right now, only water you see in the sewers are the wastewater, what we refer to from homes and other institutions and such. But when it rains, there's still some parts of the wastewater and mixed with the rainwater gets into the pipe to wastewater treatment plant and get treated there and released back to the environment. But when there's excessive rain actually happen, this combined mixture of the combined, wastewater and stormwater can actually go to the river directly without any treatment. that part we call it overflow. So any smaller rains, even for a rainfall that happens, once in a month, can also trigger a overflow to the creeks and the water, and receiving water is causing water quality concerns. But these systems are built that way back then to protect homes and protect the businesses, and so that they don't get flooded. So the water and excess water goes to the creek directly. The idea was at the time dilution is the solution kind of thing. But later we realized that there was the waters need to be cleaned. That is what is referred to really overflow control program. And previously now we have branded as the smart sewer program. So that is what is the challenge we have to capture those overflows leaving directly to the waterways, to capture them and bring it to treatment, or limit how much of the rainwater gets into these combined systems. Either way, to limit the water pollution. Next slide actually graphically depicts the separate system. In these particular cases, those areas you saw on the north side of the river and then farther south on the combined sewer area, you see two different systems. There's one sewer system that takes only the wastewater and take it to treatment plants and then treat and release. But it will have a separate storm sewer system that only takes the rainfall runoff. And then take it to the rivers and waterways. So that is what you don't have in your area, but just for the academic purpose, we just want to show how these two systems function. And then if you go to the next slide. Now, I just want to give you, before I get Ben McCabe, give you project details, why this Town Fork Creek project that currently we're discussing today. As a whole, as a city, we've been really challenged with many different ways with our source systems. Our source systems are very aged, as you know, as we would say back in the 1800s. And systems are designed to overflow during wet weather, causing water quality concerns. And that pollutes our rivers and creeks. And so are backups, and the systems are aged, and in a different condition could create system system create a bottlenecks in the system and can create backups. And we most often probably hear from a friend or neighbors or sometimes ourselves. And again, poor water quality because of the overflows, as I mentioned. And historically, that our past rates for the water rates did not reflect true cost of maintaining those wastewater infrastructure. Remember, we had that 2,800 miles of wastewater system to maintain, and it takes an amount of operation maintenance cost, and then past rates did not reflect, which means that actually creates a burden when you start addressing legacy issues. Now, you heard about Smart Sewer program. Smart Sewer program is emerged as a result of a need to reduce overflows to keep our waters clean. Back in 2010, the city entered into a federal consent decree with the United States of Environmental Protection Agency, or US EPA, to reduce the volume of the overflows from the city's sewer system. And even though it's a legacy issue, but we realize there is a problem, we need to address it. But we realize that it takes probably a couple of decades to address that. So this consent decree got started in 2010. We're past our 10-year mark now. But the program is really a multi-decade effort and multi-billion-dollar effort to address this challenge through 2040 as it stands. We recently was able to accomplish a third modification to the consent decree, which gave us time now through 2040 to address our challenges so that our investments can be spread out much over a longer period of time to reduce the rate burden on our customers. This project, Baseline Improvements in Town Fork Creek, is one piece of the Smart Sewer program, and it is required by the consent decree to be completed by December 31st, 2022. So I'll have Ben McCabe will describe the project and what the project benefits are. Ben?
All right. Yep, thank you, Srini. I appreciate that very much. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Very good. All right, so Trina did a good job introducing our program. This project is just one piece of the Smart Sewer program with the goal of removing excess stormwater from the sewer system, as Srini described. This project is, the goal of this is to target low-hanging fruit or projects that are more easily implemented to get the separation that that Srini described. So, next slide. So just a big picture. This is the Town Fork Creek watershed, and so a watershed is an area of land draining to a specific point. And in this case, the specific point for Town Creek watershed is a discharge at Brush Creek, just east of Bruce R. Watkins Cultural Center. The total watershed is about 3,500 acres in size. And as you can see, our project is focused in Blenheim Park there at the southeast part of the watershed. And efforts are currently underway to evaluate the entire watershed. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about this neighborhood in general. Blenheim Park, you see there highlighted, Skinny Park running north and south. There's a couple of pipes, combined sewer pipes that run through Blenheim Park, and they catch stormwater and sanitary sewers from the neighborhood to the east of Blenheim Park there. So each house just to the east of the park has a connection to those pipes. Where the streets dead end in Blenheim Park, there's curb inlets that capture stormwater. And what happens is when it rains, the pipe system can get overwhelmed, and it can flow into the creek that drains northwest from the northwest corner of the park. So our project is proposing to separate these two flows and incorporate green infrastructure. And I wanted to emphasize the green infrastructure and some of the benefits we get. It gives us a reduction in sewer overflows through the integration of green stormwater into the ground as nature intended. So, next slide, please. So how does the project benefit the community? As it says there, it reduces utility operation and maintenance costs. It enhances walkability and visual interest in Blenheim Park. It improves stormwater collection and conveyance, and improves the water quality of local streams by capturing the stormwater and treating it. Next slide, please. So what is green infrastructure? It's a management practice used to prevent or control the discharge of pollutants and minimize runoff to waters of the United States. The goal is to capture stormwater where it falls and mimic natural processes by infiltrating it into the ground. This helps to decrease downstream storm flow quantity. Applying this approach over the entire watershed has the potential to reduce flooding. Next slide, please. So I will turn this over to our design engineer, Mike Alexander with HG Consult.
Thanks, Ben. Good evening. The reason we were looking at Blenheim Park is the lay of the land where the park's located. It's a viable location that has available green space, and having walked through the park, there's an opportunity for revitalization in the park through the green elements we're looking to add. The other factor is the combined sewer runs through the park is in desperate need of repair or replacement. And it kind of cuts diagonally through the park to the northwest, and in that northwest corner, there's a diversion structure that is maintenance has issues with. It requires a lot of attention. So by doing this project, we can hopefully limit the maintenance needed for that diversion structure and hopefully eliminate it in the future. So the project will also resolve the existing stormwater issues. In that northwest corner of the park, there's a low point. So when it rains, it collects in that low point, and it really doesn't have a positive direction to flow. So it just ponds there until it evaporates. So part of our improvements to the park will be to properly grade that area so that it drains into Town Fork Creek and can go on downstream. And in addition, the project will separate the storm inlets on the side streets and keep that water out of the sewer system. By doing that, eliminating sewer overflows to the creek. One thing we want to note, this work that we're doing or proposing to do in the park is to provide sewer separation and improve water quality. Flooding issues that are currently north of this project area probably will not see significant, this project will not resolve significant flooding issues for infrequent floods like the 100-year storm. We're focused more on water quality and sewer separation in the watershed. Next slide, please. So this is just kind of a conceptual sketch that we come up with to kind of show what the concept we're considering and something we were kind of wanting to create some ideas off of. We're looking at constructing 4 bioretention areas. So these would be sumped areas that would have soil, amended soils that would allow plants to grow and would create opportunities for water to infiltrate into the soil. And the 3 ponds to the south would be linked together. And so as one pond fills, it would kind of overflow to the next and overflow to the next. And then at the end, if there's a storm that's larger than the water quality storm that we're looking to analyze or treat, the water would overflow and just make its way to the ditch that we're grading to the northwest. So this is just kind of a conceptual sketch of what we've got shown. Part of what we're looking at doing is improving the trail system through the park. The park trail that's currently there is not ADA compliant, so we'd be bringing that up to ADA standards, providing a 10-foot concrete trail instead of the narrower asphalt trail that's currently there, and providing park amenities. Providing that park amenity. And the other thing we'd be doing is extending the existing trail all the way down to, I believe, 68th Street. So we'd be lengthening that trail even by that northernmost bioretention area. We would be replacing the inlets, as Ben said, at the ends of each of the streets. So 68th Terrace, 69th Street, 69th Terrace, and 70th Street. Those inlets at the end of the street we would be replacing, and instead be kind of we'd put new inlets in that would provide a water quality benefit. They help filter out trash, sediment, and debris, and would allow flow to flow through ditch under the trail into these bioretention areas. So it would help collect the water off the streets and also help filter out the trash and debris and keep it out of the park. And then the other benefit of the project would be to improve the drainage issue that I mentioned previously in the northwest corner of the park where we have the low point. So we'd be providing positive flow and not letting the water build up there and be stagnant. Next slide, please. So the next few slides are just some photos of some green infrastructure installations throughout the city. So this one is a combination of plantings and decorative rock and stone. Due to the elevation of this area, has more of a tiered approach to keep velocities under control. So this is just kind of one example that has been implemented in the city, just to give you a different perspective. Next slide, please. So the picture on the left is some of the flowers that are native to the Kansas City region that could be included in the garden or the bioretention areas. And then you can kind of see in the middle picture some of the native grasses and native flowers that are common plants that are native to this area. And then the picture on the right is one of these facilities with some storm flow in it that's in the process of infiltrating. So during this construction, there are a few things you can kind of expect as a resident. There will be large equipment, primarily in the park, that during construction hours could be loud or noisy and could create dusty conditions. There may be temporary street closures, primarily at the very ends of the street where those inlets are located, but there's a good chance that they could perform the construction in a way to minimize any impacts to the people that own those homes or need access to those homes. So the street and lane closures should be minimal and not hugely affecting those residents. And then if you're a park user and walk the trail frequently, there might be some temporary trail closures while we get the trail constructed and get the drainage structures in to get the water across the trail. Next slide, please. So I'm going to turn it back over to Megan. She's got a few questions and a kind of a discussion period to kind of go through some of the stuff we talked about.
All right, hello. Yes, as Mike said, we do want to hear from you. We want to make sure what we're planning to do in Blenheim Park is reflective of the needs and the wants of this community, right? We don't want to just say, yeah, you get these detention basins and sound good. All right, we're starting next week. That's not the goal of this. We want to make sure we're serving the needs while we're in the design phase of this project. And I'm not sure how many folks we have on today, but Eugene, I saw you chime in when you logged on, and I didn't know if you all wanted to unmute your microphones or write in the chat. Just kind of answering some of these questions. We can also follow up with you after the meeting if you think of things later, but first of all, I just want to know, tell us about your neighborhood. What kind of folks live there? What are their concerns, their priorities? Is it a lot of families, older folks, a great mix? I just want to know about your neighborhood.
I'm not sure you can hear me. This is new to me.
Yes, we can.
All right. From what I've heard today, I didn't really need the update on what needs to be done. I'm aware of the problem and how much has been done already. But as to my neighborhood and the park, Blenheim Park, I assume that you have pretty much set the thing in stone. You're already planning to do it, and you're just giving us a heads up on all the problems that we're going to have, supposedly with noise and dirt and closings, and is pretty much the design's pretty much set, isn't it? From what I see.
Eugene, this is Mike. No, the design's not set in stone, and this is something we wanted to bring to you guys to get feedback before anything was finalized. So, if this is something that the neighborhood just cannot get behind, that's just something we need to know. We're not going to force anything on any of the residents in this area.
Well, I'm all for combined use, but I would like to see the use in logical places. The north end and the south end. The center of the park is the high point and the most level point. And if that is dug into and disturbed, I think the park would lose its traditional use as a park. The lower points, for instance, at the south end, just off of 70th Terrace, is a natural basin which could be very easily adapted for use as a water impoundment for storm runoff. And the north ends, of course, north end is also low. You're probably going to have a construction problem there. I think the limestone ledge is pretty close to the surface at the north end. I don't know how you're planning to use that without blasting or digging. Pretty rough work up there.
Megan, can you bring up the drawing of the rough plans?
Sorry, this might be helpful.
Yes, thank you very much. So as part of this project, Eugene, if we were to move forward, we'd have to do some geologic investigations to answer that one of your questions regarding limestone. We have to figure out how deep the bedrock is, how suitable the soils are for infiltration. That would be one of the things we'd have to investigate with this project.
Don't have any information on that.
Not yet, no. So your feedback's helpful for us to be looking out for the limestones.
On that sketch now, for instance, between 70th Street and 69th Street is the finest part of the park. It's level, and it was where we once had tennis courts and other amenities, which were very nice. They were not able to be maintained by the park, and they've been removed. I have no objection to removing the old picnic areas, the picnic ovens at the south end and the north end. And they are the low points. No one uses the old picnic ovens anymore. They bring their own grills these days. You know what I mean by traditional, an area where kids gather at that high point, a level point, to play touch football and volleyball, whatever, fly kites. That's the only really smooth traditional parkland. Am I making any point?
No, that's very helpful for us to know. One of my questions was how is the park being used? I mean, if there are children, of course, playing in that one level point, that's good for our team to know when we're finalizing our designs, to keep some green space available so the park is still usable for how you all need it.
Yes, well, that's my only concern, really, is it would lose, the park would lose its use of the traditional park with this design cutting into that area so severely. Whereas down at the end of 69th Street, 79th Terrace, 70th Terrace is very low, and it has a natural earthen berm at the end of the valley there, which was the support for the level support for what was Woodland Avenue, which used to run along the west side of Blenheim Park. Woodland Avenue ran all the way along the west side of the park before it was absorbed by the cemetery company. When the streetcar line was taken out of Woodland along there, the cemetery company grabbed it as supposedly abandoned property, and they expanded out over that whole street. But it left that berm down at the end of 70th Terrace, which is a natural dam, which would be useful for you, I would think. Am I helping?
Yes, we do appreciate the feedback on the park for sure. I appreciate that, Eugene.
I got a quick question for you, Eugene. So that the southernmost bioretention area that we've got shown there, if that was shifted a little bit further west and shifted to potentially drain to the south, and we were able to move that, maybe disconnect it from that chain there, and to kind of open up a good size rectangle, of that in that flat, optimize that flat area. Would that kind of accomplish kind of what you're looking to maintain as far as maintaining that flat spot up there? So,
well, it would help, but if you could keep at least that one block clear between 70 and 69th, and think more about putting a larger retention area down in that unused area at 79th Terrace. There's really nothing at the south end to maintain as a park. There's a ball diamond, which was never properly designed. It's never used. It's not maintained properly. It's was put in, they dug into the side of the hill and did fairly recently. That's, I don't know, maybe 20 years. But it's not been used. It requires league play, of course. You have to have teams. You have to have little leagues. I don't know if there's much activity like that these days. That's why I miss our tennis course we had right there in that level place. If you don't, all you need is two people and you've got a game. And that's good sports, good activity. But anyway, people do still use that area. It's the only really traditional parkland.
Well, thank you for that. Because, you know, how are we going to know if we don't talk to people in the neighborhood, right? So I really appreciate your feedback there. Do you or anyone else on the call, I'm not sure who all is here, have any questions for the team or suggestions, recommendations while we continue looking into this project?
Well, I guess I've taken too much of your time already, but I've made my point. I would be sad to see that part torn up. I don't think you could call it a park, traditional park anymore. It'd be rain gardens. Okay, I'm through.
Good. Thank you, Eugene. Thank you, Eugene, very much. I appreciate hearing from you today. And thanks for taking the time to join the meeting as well.
Well, I hope I've helped.
I see there's an Amy Murdoch on the line. Is that somebody with the public?
She's with our design team.
Oh, okay. And there's a Gina Bocher on the line. I wasn't sure if that might be somebody that would want to speak up.
I'm with Parson and Associates, not with the public.
Okay.
Just listening in. All right. Well,
Good.
you're our star today. Thank you so much for this feedback. It's really helpful. Do we have any other questions from the group? I think we're good.
Ben, I think it would be helpful to give Eugene a little overview of what kind of the next steps would look like.
What was that?
Ben, would you be able to tell Eugene what the next steps in terms of, you know, taking back his feedback, what the next steps will look like?
I think so. This gives me my thoughts, and the team can jump in here. But I think we need to consider his comments. I think we need to try to get a little more feedback from the neighborhood than we have as well. Get some other people's thoughts. I think we need to give us some time to do that, and then after we can get Eugene's and get the other neighborhood's comments, then we can try to accommodate those or see what we want to do with our design moving forward on this project. So I think we're probably a couple weeks out from trying to do that to give us some time to get some more public feedback on this project. So, but your comments are very well received, Eugene, and I appreciate that. So.
And we might be following up with you to see your recommendations for how we might reach some of your neighbors and get their feedback as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. This is Terry Leeds, the director for KC Water. Appreciate you being on tonight, Eugene. But is there anybody else in your neighborhood that you think that we should reach out to try and get some additional input?
I don't know how many people you sent your cards to.
385, I think.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, really? Well,
Yep.
There is a neighborhood organization which has active members. I'm not a particular strong member of that, but the BLENHEIM neighborhood, if you could contact them, I suppose a lot of those people would live in this vicinity.
We did shoot them an email and didn't hear back, but let me see if I can dig around and maybe find a different contact. Sometimes our list isn't always up to date. But yeah, try BLENHEIM. I'll remember that. Thank you.
Very good.
Can I ask one more question for you, Gene?
Sure.
Obviously, we're doing this in a virtual format. Is there a preferred way for you to facilitate these conversations or offer feedback?
Any way that's convenient for you, I will try. This is a new format for me. I'm an old dog learning new tricks.
Doing great.
Doing great.
Yep. So Ben and Mike, we will take the input received today, and we'll wait for additional folks to reach out to, because we sent aboard nearly just under 400 postcards, and we'll make another round of inquiries. But I think the next steps look like you have a geotechnical evaluations and then then move forward with that. I think one of the key aspect is that while we create the opportunity for water to infiltrate, but accommodate that areas people still can use the park. I think that was what I learned maybe in the middle part of the park. So when we get back after the design, when we do follow up public outreach, at that point that we could show how this input we received from Mr. McNerney, how we end up using it, and other input we may get. So I think, yeah, we appreciate your participation. And is there anything else, Megan, before we conclude?
I think that's all I have.
Do we have a way to get back to Mr. McNerney?
We have his phone number and his email.
All right. Super.
And Meg, guess the other thing, I think this will be posted on a website for others in the neighborhood that they can view this as well. Is that correct?
We'll post this recording to our landing page so people can get caught up.
Very good. So we can direct people to the website and try to get feedback that way. So. Very good.
All right.
Thank you.
All
Have
right.
a good evening.
All right, Megan. Thank you, everyone. We'll meet next time when we do the part 2 of the public outreach later in the design. Have a good evening. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, everybody.